Welcome back to the channel where we drop the raw and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales, and the Royal Circle. Today's scoop is shaking up the palace, Prince William's explosive move against Queen Camilla after she was caught up in a storm over Princess Diana's legendary necklace. According to an insider, the palace has been in total chaos ever since Diana's iconic piece went missing. The whispers are wild, and all signs point to Camilla taking the necklace that once belonged to William's late mother. Prince William finally had enough and laid down the law, demanding she return what he called his mother's legacy. That bold demand left Camilla furious, and insiders say she completely lost her cool when the truth came crashing down. Now the House of Windsor is drowning in scandal. Queen Camilla has been pushed aside in a way nobody ever expected, especially after a secret internal probe into the missing jewellery. In a shocking twist, Prince William has stripped his stepmother of key royal duties and cut her off from sensitive documents tied to Princess Diana. This jaw-dropping power shift is more than just family drama. It's a royal earthquake that's changing everything inside the monarchy. The palace tried to bury this scandal deep, but it blew wide open when Catherine, Princess of Wales, uncovered that Princess Diana's legendary 4-strand pearl and diamond choker had vanished from a heavily guarded vault inside Kensington Palace. The disappearance wasn't just a mistake, it set off alarm bells that rocked the royals to their core. Prince William wasted no time and launched his own quiet probe. What he uncovered shocked everyone. Insiders are calling it a deliberate and deeply personal theft, pinned on none other than Queen Camilla. The tension exploded during an intimate royal dinner when Camilla dared to show up in public wearing the very same necklace. The audacity sent shockwaves through the family, and whispers say that was the final straw. Insiders claim the evidence against her is rock solid. Sworn testimony from palace staff and other damning proof left William with no choice but to act. To protect his mother's legacy, he's taken decisive action that has stunned the monarchy. Even King Charles, though reluctant, has quietly given his nod of approval, signalling just how serious this fallout has become. The consequences came fast and brutal. Camilla has been forced to quietly back away from her high-profile duties, while William and Catherine now oversee every piece of Diana's historic treasures. This moment marks a dramatic turning point for the monarchy, cementing William as the fierce guardian of his mother's memory and the undeniable heir shaping the crown's future. The shocking discovery of an empty safe has now turned into a chilling reminder of a ghostly legacy. It all began on the afternoon of June 18, 2025, inside Kensington Palace, where Catherine, Princess of Wales, was preparing for a special family event, a heartfelt celebration of Princess Charlotte's 10th birthday. The gathering wasn't just about balloons and cake. It was meant to honour Charlotte's late grandmother, Princess Diana, with a tribute that carried deep meaning. Catherine had carefully planned for Diana's world-famous 4-strand Japanese pearl necklace to take centre stage at the event, but when the vault was opened, the necklace was gone, leaving behind nothing but questions and suspicion. This was no ordinary accessory. It was a treasure tied to history, emotion, and Diana's unshakable legacy. The piece's story goes far beyond its beauty. It began as a brooch, gifted to Diana by Queen Mary as a wedding present. Diana later transformed it into a stunning choker that became one of her most iconic looks. She wore it to countless historic moments, including the 1982 state visit to the Netherlands, where it stood as a bold symbol of her rising confidence and grace on the world stage. This wasn't just missing jewellery. It was the vanishing of a crown jewel tied to Diana's spirit. That necklace wasn't just sparkling jewels, it was Prince William's living bond to his late mother. His dream had always been to one day pass it down to Princess Charlotte, giving her a piece of the grandmother she never got the chance to meet. But on that fateful day, everything changed. When Catherine stepped into the high-security, climate-controlled vault buried deep within the castle, she froze in her tracks. The velvet display case designed specifically for the necklace sat wide open and empty. The priceless choker had vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but shock and a chill that ran down her spine. According to a royal insider close to the princess, Catherine looked shaken but wasted no time snapping into action. In seconds, she went from disbelief to carefully combing through every detail like a detective on the case. Yet, the official borrowing log showed nothing. No one had signed it out. The advanced digital security system flagged no suspicious entries, no forced openings, nothing. It was as if the necklace had simply evaporated into thin air, leaving a mystery that stunned the palace. The princess quickly rang the vault manager, her voice steady, even though the weight of the moment was crushing. What unfolded next pushed the palace into full-blown scandal. A junior archivist, pale and clearly terrified, finally cracked under questioning. When asked who had last entered the vault, the staff member whispered nervously, "Ma'am, there was an unplanned access back in early April. Nothing went into the official log, but we saw Queen Camilla walk in." That single name changed everything. What could have been dismissed as a common theft suddenly twisted into a bitter family showdown. Queen Camilla, the very woman whose history with King Charles had already cast shadows over Princess Diana's final years, was now at the centre of suspicion over the disappearance of Diana's most priceless treasure. Catherine grasped the danger instantly. She called in a trusted security specialist and ordered a full sweep of the vault. The examination revealed a nearly invisible scrape on the locking mechanism, subtle but fresh, as if someone had opened it in a rush. Fingerprints were useless, but that tiny mark matched perfectly with the timing of the mysterious unlogged entry in April. It was the breakthrough Catherine feared but expected. Heart pounding, she reached for her phone. "William," she said, her voice trembling with anger she could barely keep under control. "You need to come to Kensington, now!" With that call, the royal walls shook, and the scandal turned from whispers into war. "It's about your mom." Those words still echoed in William's mind as the palace prepared for what became one of the most tense confrontations in years. Just 2 days later, on June 20th, the brewing storm finally exploded at a private lunch inside Buckingham Palace, a gathering meant to be relaxed with senior royals and a few close family allies. But insiders swear the atmosphere was suffocating, thick with suspicion and unspoken hostility. Witnesses said Catherine entered the room looking polished and graceful as always, but her eyes told another story. Sharp, uneasy, and restless. She was waiting for the moment everyone feared. That moment came the second Queen Camilla appeared, walking in with an almost smug smile, dressed in a plain beige outfit. She slid into the seat beside King Charles, and there it was, hanging proudly around her neck, Princess Diana's legendary 4-strand pearl choker. The radiant pearls glowed under the lights, while the iconic oval diamond clasp gleamed with every tilt of her head like a cruel taunt. The room fell silent, frozen in shock. One guest whispered that Catherine looked like stone, her face locked between fury and disbelief. This wasn't just a stolen necklace anymore. It was a declaration, a public challenge, and a slap in the face to Diana's memory. For Catherine, it cut deep. Camilla wasn't just taking jewelry, she was desecrating the legacy William and his wife had sworn to protect at all costs. Catherine forced herself to stay composed, though every nerve in her body was on edge. With careful precision, she sent a discreet text to William, who sat further down the table, away from her line of sight. Then, in a low, urgent whisper to her aide, she commanded, "Get comparison photos from the archives. Contact the royal gemologist immediately. Keep it quiet." Within half an hour, in a small anteroom tucked away from the lavish dining hall, the royal gemologist delivered the verdict no one wanted to hear. He studied the high-resolution images of the necklace draped around Camilla's neck and compared them to detailed records from the vault. His conclusion was chilling. It's the original. He explained that the tiny scratches on the diamond clasp, documented during a preservation check in 1997, matched perfectly. There was no doubt this was Diana's true necklace, not a replica. The confirmation hit like lightning. William rose to his feet, his expression described by one witness as a thundercloud of grief and fury. He stormed across the room, cutting through the silence, shattering centuries of royal etiquette in one stride. Stopping right beside his stepmother, his voice stayed low, but the entire table heard the icy words that carried years of buried pain. "That necklace does not belong to you." He paused, his glare unwavering, before finishing with devastating clarity. "It belongs to my mother, and it's for my daughter." The room was stunned, every eye locked on the Prince of Wales as he drew a line no royal had ever dared before. Witnesses later revealed that Queen Camilla's face drained of colour the instant William's words cut through the room. Almost instinctively, her hand flew to the necklace at her throat. But in seconds, she steadied herself, snapping into defence mode. "You are wrong, William." she insisted, her voice tense and uneven. "This is only a copy. I had an auction house create it for me. It may look identical, but it is not your mother's." Her denial was met with an eerie silence, so heavy it seemed to suffocate the room. King Charles avoided his son's eyes, staring down at his plate, offering no defense for his wife. The guests, caught in the middle of history unraveling, turned away awkwardly, unwilling to watch a family tear itself apart before their very eyes. The luncheon ended abruptly, like a curtain dropping on a scene too painful to continue. William and Catherine departed immediately, their faces etched with grim resolve, while Camilla remained at the table, the necklace glinting like a weight of guilt that, as one insider described, hung around her neck like a millstone. Back at Kensington Palace, William knew Camilla's shaky denial wasn't enough to erase the truth. A gemologist's word was strong, but to crush her defense completely, he needed more. Turning to Catherine, he admitted what had become clear. She didn't act alone. Someone on the inside helped her. "We need to find them." Without wasting a moment, William summoned his personal security team, launching a hunt for the accomplice that would drag even more secrets into the light. William's private task force, a hand-picked group of ex-military and intelligence operatives fiercely loyal to him, moved swiftly under his command. His instructions were sharp and uncompromising: conduct a top-secret probe of every staff member with access to the Kensington Vault, zeroing in on the critical window between March and April 2025. Nothing was off-limits. Communications, access logs, financial trails, every detail had to be scrutinized. Someone made this happen, William told them, and he wanted names. It didn't take long before suspicion narrowed on one man, Thomas Reed, a 55-year-old palace guard with more than 3 decades of service. On the surface, Reed looked like the picture of loyalty, but his history carried a telling detail. He had once worked directly for Camilla, back when she was still the Duchess of Cornwall. That connection suddenly looked far from innocent. The digital evidence was damning. In early April, a mysterious, unrecorded call from Buckingham Palace had pinged Reed's personal phone. Even more alarming, security logs showed Reed had entered the office where the vault's backup keys were stored on April 9th. The exact same day Camilla slipped into the vault without signing the log. The timeline was too perfect to ignore. Determined to get answers himself, William made a calculated decision. He summoned Reed to a barren, windowless chamber inside Kensington. No assistants, no lawyers, just the future king and the guard. William didn't open with accusations. Instead, he fixed Reed with an icy stare, letting the silence press down like a weight before the confrontation truly began. William began carefully, his tone calm but cutting straight to the point. "Mr. Reed, you've served this family for 3 decades, he said, his voice steady. "Now I'm asking you to serve the truth." At first, Reed tried to keep his composure, but it cracked quickly under the prince's relentless questions and the pile of evidence laid before him. Finally, his defences collapsed, and in a trembling voice, he confessed everything. "Queen Camilla asked me to make a duplicate of the spare key," he admitted, eyes downcast. "She told me it was for urgent royal business, something about preserving the legacy. She insisted it was for the family's sake, so I obeyed. I opened the vault door for her and waited outside. I never knew she intended to remove the jewellery. I swear it, Your Highness." Every word was captured on video, the confession that would blow the palace wide open. Reed, racked with remorse, was promised leniency in exchange for his full cooperation and sworn testimony. In that moment, he became the investigation's smoking gun, the insider who confirmed the truth the royals had been whispering but dared not say aloud. With the gemologist's findings, the damning digital records, and now Reed's explosive confession, Prince William had all the ammunition he needed. The time for doubts was over. It was time for action. Behind closed doors, he prepared to make his final decision. A quiet but diva. On the morning of June 27th, an emergency council was summoned at Kensington Palace. Only the most trusted advisors and chiefs of household were present. Notably absent was King Charles, a deliberate choice to show that the Prince of Wales now commanded the room. At the head of a long oak table, framed by portraits of his ancestors, William delivered his verdict. His tone was calm, but his authority filled the chamber. "We now have undeniable proof," he declared, his eyes sweeping across the silent room. Mr. Thomas Reed has provided a sworn statement confirming that the Queen Consort orchestrated the unlawful removal of the pearl choker from the Kensington vault. This is not only an egregious breach of trust, it is a disgrace to the memory of my mother, the late Princess Diana. Gasps rippled faintly through the advisors, but William pressed on. Effective immediately, Queen Camilla is barred from all royal archives and vaults. From this moment forward, the Princess of Wales and I alone will oversee all matters concerning the ceremonies, exhibits, and legacies connected to my mother. This decision is final. There was no debate. The evidence was unshakable. The order was dispatched quietly but firmly. A confidential notice, delivered through Buckingham Palace channels. Cold, bureaucratic, final. Sources say Camilla received the email in stunned silence, her long-laid ambitions crushed with the click of a mouse. When she reached out to the king in desperation, Charles's response was muted, weary, and distant. He offered no defense, only resignation. It was the end of her power move, and the beginning of William's new authority. The proof is too clear, Camilla. The king is believed to have told her in private. If I intervene, it will only ignite a scandal that could damage the monarchy. William has taken control of this matter, and so began the aftermath, the quiet undoing of a queen. In the weeks that followed, Queen Camilla became little more than a shadow in the palace halls. Her name slipped from official schedules, erased from state dinners, charity galas, and ceremonial lists. Invitations once extended in her honor were quietly withdrawn. Her personal staff, sensing the shift in power and wary of her tainted reputation, began resigning or seeking positions elsewhere. Doors that had once opened at her presence now closed without explanation. There was no proclamation, no public stripping of her crown. The monarchy, as it had done for centuries, favoured silence over spectacle. Instead of a guillotine, there was a slow, deliberate suffocation of influence. Camilla still wore the title of Queen Consort, but it had become an empty crown. Authority had passed elsewhere, and all of Britain could see who was rising in her place. As one courtier remarked in hushed tones, "She is a queen in name only." In sharp contrast, the Princess of Wales's star was soaring. Catherine emerged from the scandal not diminished, but elevated, her calm poise seen as both a tribute to Diana and a vindication of her legacy. Crowds greeted her at charity events with banners reading, "Catherine, our princess, and justice for Diana." The press anointed her the true guardian of Diana's memory, praising her unshakable dignity throughout the crisis. Prince William, too, was transformed. The controversy had forged him into a resolute leader. He shifted the monarchy's centre of gravity away from Buckingham Palace, consolidating his authority at Kensington. Under his command, state-of-the-art biometric security was installed in the royal archives, a system so precise that only William and Catherine could access Diana's most intimate treasures. The stolen necklace, quietly returned under strict secrecy, now rests once more in its rightful place, guarded more securely than ever. The royal family carries on, but the atmosphere inside those palaces will never be the same. This was a coup in silence. No explosions, no public downfall, just the quiet click of a door being locked forever. Prince William didn't just recover a necklace, he reclaimed his mother's story. He ensured Diana's legacy would stay in the hands of those who loved her, not those who once caused her pain. And that leaves the burning question: why would Camilla risk everything by stealing Diana's jewels? Her actions weren't just theft, they were symbolic, a crime against memory itself. Sources say her motives were rooted in deep insecurity, a desperate urge to claw out from Diana's shadow. For decades, she was branded the other woman. Even crowned as Queen Consort, she struggled to win the same love Diana commands effortlessly, even in death. By taking that necklace, Camilla wasn't reaching for pearls, she was reaching for Diana's power. It was an attempt to rewrite history, to claim legitimacy she could never truly earn, stating cleanup that would shift the royal balance of power once and for all. Camilla truly believed that by wearing the symbol of Diana's elegance and power, she could steal a piece of her aura, crown herself as the rightful matriarch, and rewrite history in her favour. But it was a desperate illusion and a catastrophic mistake. She failed to understand what the necklace meant. To William and Harry, it was their mother's memory wrapped in pearls. To millions across the world, it was a sacred relic of the woman who captured hearts effortlessly. By taking it, Camilla did not honour Diana, she violated her. It was not a gesture of respect, it was an act of disdain, an act of violence. Violence against Diana's memory, violence against William and Catherine, the heirs to her legacy. And in the end, that necklace did not crown Camilla as the matriarch. It marked her downfall. Would it be appropriate to leave her alone in this manner, in the strange and brutal logic of the British monarchy? The answer is yes. Her punishment was not only legitimate, it was inevitable. The Crown's first duty is survival. A public scandal, a trial, or an official demotion would have handed endless ammunition to tabloids, critics, and Republicans who dream of dismantling the monarchy. Such a spectacle could never be risked. Instead, the monarchy uses its oldest weapon: silence, quiet isolation, a slow erasure. It is how the institution protects itself from threats without fanfare. It buries them in the shadows where no noise escapes. But Camilla's crime was not just breaking a rule, it was a betrayal of trust, the deepest offence in a family that demands loyalty above all. She exploited her position as queen consort to wound the heir and desecrate the memory of his mother. In a system built on ritual, hierarchy, and unspoken contracts, this was unforgivable. And so her fate was sealed, not with chains or trials, but with something colder. The monarchy's harshest sentence: civil death. The fact that she remains inside the royal court, yet stripped of power, is nothing less than the monarchy's quietest execution, the punishment of civil death. Though she still bears the title of queen consort and resides in her house, every measure of authority, purpose, and influence has been taken from her. What remains is hollow, a crown without power, a throne without voice. For someone who laboured for decades to climb from the shadows into the light of the monarchy, this slow descent into irrelevance is perhaps the cruelest fate imaginable. It gnaws at the mind, more damaging than any public condemnation could ever be. She will walk the corridors of the palace, not as its mistress, but as its ghost, a silent figure lingering in the place she once sought to command. Given the magnitude of her symbolic crime, the punishment is both severe and fitting. Within the brutal logic of monarchy, it is also inevitable. 3. How did William and Catherine make sure Diana's memory lives on? They blended raw emotion with cold strategy, turning grief into power. William and Catherine handled this crisis like seasoned players. Instead of running to the press or filing public charges that would have turned the palace into a tabloid circus, they played it smart and quiet. Behind locked doors, they launched a rapid, secret investigation, keeping the scandal under wraps until they had the upper hand. The key? Evidence no one could deny. The taped confession of Mr. Thomas Reed became their trump card, a smoking gun that sealed Camilla's fate. With this in hand, they controlled the story, protected Diana's honour, and kept the monarchy from spiralling into chaos. The scandal no longer rested on "he said, she said." Now it carried the weight of a witness whose testimony couldn't be doubted. The evidence was airtight, leaving Camilla and even King Charles cornered with no way out. Prince William's final decision wasn't painted as revenge. It was a bold, necessary act to defend both the monarchy and his mother's sacred legacy. By stripping Camilla of her access and taking direct control of Diana's treasures, William wasn't just punishing betrayal. He was making it clear that only he and Catherine were worthy guardians of Diana's memory. This wasn't just about jewellery, it was about power, respect, and the future of the crown. William and Catherine came out as strong, capable, and morally untouchable, a dramatic break from the scandals that haunted the royals before them. In turning this crisis into their victory, they didn't just protect Diana's name, they secured their own place as the rightful future of the monarchy. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more royal bombshells and hidden truths.